Welcome back to the Law&Crime Network. I'm Heather Hansen, and we have a guest for you today. This is Patrick McStay. He is the father of Joey McStay, who is one of the 4 victims in this trial against Charles Merritt. Patrick, welcome, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you about, you've written a book about this entire investigation and before the trial, but in anticipation of the trial, called McStays, Taken Too Soon, A True Story. What drew you to write a book about this?
Well, at the time, it was going crazy and everybody was on the internet and they were accusing Joey of this, Summer of that, Michael of this, Michael of that. I just got sick and tired of all that and thought, with everything else that was going on and the fact that I was unhappy with San Diego at the time, I felt that I was going to tell the truth and put it out there and tell them what my sons were really like and what was really going on.
Well, when you say you were unhappy with San Diego, let's set the stage for the audience here. San Diego is where the case, most of the case took place and where the investigation took place. Were you unhappy with the investigation, and are you unhappy with the way that this trial has started?
Let's start with San Diego. Yeah, I was very unhappy with San Diego, and I think everybody knew that. I mean, I was on several specials, probably 4, and voiced my opinions, and I would in articles, newspaper articles, and everything, because I'm still not, happy with San Diego.
But why?
I really don't want to go into all that because I'd rather wait till the trial's over. I don't want to do anything to help the defense in any way.
And do you feel as though, part of the defense in this case, in their openings, they claim that Kavanaugh, another business associate of your son and the defendant, was involved and in fact committed this murder. What's your response to that allegation on the defense?
I can't say that on here. I know Kavanaugh. I met Dan years ago when Joey first met him, when he first started with Joey doing the setting up the website and everything for EIP. What a lot of people didn't know, and it's in the book, is originally I was Joey's partner in the book, or not in the book, in the business. Joey had filed a bankruptcy a year prior or so, and I know that because I paid the lawyer. We did it because at the time, I was very well financially sound, and I was kind of like the silent partner, and it had all the credit lines set up and everything, and that's how EIP started, and that's how I met Dan.
So you don't think that Dan is capable of committing murder? And do you think, have you met Merritt, Charles Merritt, the defendant in this case? Tell us a little bit about how you compare the two of those men and their role in this entire trial.
Well, Joey and I had a lot of conversations about Merritt. There's no question on that. And, yeah, I think he's very capable of it. But Dan Kavanaugh, I hate to say it, but I'm going to put it in what I would call, I grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and I'd put it, Kavanaugh to me struck me when I met him, and he was young. He was about 18, 19 years old. He was kind of like, to me, what you would call a street punk. He had a big mouth, but he didn't have anything else.
Didn't feel like it had to back it up. Now, you said you had a couple conversations with your son about Merritt. Can you tell us a little bit about those conversations? Did you have some distrust of him during the time that he was doing business with your son?
Oh, Joey and I had a lot of talks about him back here from August of 2008 to the spring of 2009 when Joey was contemplating. That's when we had been partners and everything else. We had ended it just a little before that, but wasn't happy with Jason talking at that point about replacing him.
Why?
His work was getting sloppy. He was into Joey for a lot of money. Basically that.
The mother of Joey, Susan Blake, has been testifying thus far today. We haven't seen her face because she has chosen to remain relatively anonymous, but we've heard her voice. Susan Blake is your ex-wife. Have you been following her testimony, and is there anything that you've seen that you've taken issue with?
Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, I've been following it. I've been following it since yesterday when it started, and all the way through to today. Let me explain. It's in the book too. Very simple. You can just go to the book and look. I mean, people could see. Let me tell you how it all started. Okay. On February 9th, I tried to get a hold of Michael, my youngest son. I wanted him to check on his brother because I hadn't been able to get a hold of him since Friday, the prior Friday, the 5th. And so I've been trying all weekend. So I was really worried because Joey took some what I call cell phone sabbaticals, but I didn't. This was too long. It's just something didn't feel right on this one. So I got a hold of. I was going to get a hold of Michael, rather. And just before I got a hold of him, I got an email from a guy, and it said Dan Kavanaugh. And I said, I don't know any Dan Kavanaugh, so I didn't open it. I just deleted it. So then, I guess less than an hour later, ID caller pops up on my phone and says Dan Kavanaugh. And I'm going like, I don't know who this Dan Kavanaugh is. And I see it's 619 area code, San Diego. So it's got my curiosity. So anyways, I get a hold of Michael then, and I call Michael, and I said, Michael, I'm worried about your brother. Will you please go down and check on him? And I said, I'm just really worried. He said, Dad, I don't have time. I'm busy, and I don't have time. And so I asked him again. And I asked him about 3 times. He got more emphatic about it. So finally, I said to him, you know, I'm getting a call from this Dan Kavanaugh in 619 area code, and I don't know who in the hell it is. Excuse my language. And he says, Dad, you know who that is? And I said, no, I don't, Michael. And he said, yeah, you do, Dad. He said, that's Dan the hacker. And I said, oh, yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, that's Dan the hacker. That's how I knew Dan the hacker. So Dan had tried to get a hold of me because he was he was emailing Joey and calling him. And his calls, like mine, were going to voicemail, and the emails were stacking up. And so I said to Michael, I kind of got ahead of myself a little here, but for that, I told Michael, I said, call Dan. And he said, Dad, what's his number? I said, I started to give him the number, look it up, and he says, Dad, I already have it. I'll call him. So then a little while later, he called me back, and he said, yeah, Dad, you're right. Dan can't get a hold of him either.
So is that part of the reason, Patrick, that you don't believe that Dan was involved in this murder because he was the one that was reaching out to you and trying to get a hold of your son as well?
No, that wouldn't have anything to do with it. I mean, you know, the old story, the criminal returning to the crime, you know.
Right. No. So are you planning on testifying in this case?
As far as I know, I haven't been contacted about testifying, so.
And are there any specific instances in Susan's testimony, your ex-wife's testimony so far today, that you feel are blatantly inconsistent or just plain untrue?
I think there's a number of things there. I don't know whether she's, it's been so long she's forgot or, you know, I have no idea. Other than the fact that some things don't seem right and some things are not right.
All right, well, sir, I want to explore that a little bit with you. We're going to go to a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Law&Crime Network, where we have been talking to Patrick McStay, the father of Joy McStay, one of the 4 victims in this case that we've been covering. Patrick, I know that we need to wrap up real quick, but before we do, what is your hope at the end of this case? Obviously, you want justice for your son. Are you hoping that this jury comes back with a capital punishment verdict?
Yeah, I prefer the death penalty because then I feel he probably never will really get executed, but at least he'll sit in a cell by himself for the rest of his life.
Well, Patrick, we want to thank you so much for being here with us, and we send you our deepest sympathies. We hope to have you back again over the course of this trial.
Can I ask you one thing? Can
Sure.
People please go to GoFundMe, McStay Murders, Family Murders, or go to my now I got lost here. McStay.shop. They can buy the book there, an audio version, paperback, or the Kindle download. There's also a link there to go to the GoFundMe, because I'm retired and that's what I need to be able to spend time at the trial.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.